This here is not running from my Steam Deck's SSD. It's streaming from the cloud, natively, no hacks, no desktop mode. And yes, I'm legally required to say, this changes everything. But in this case, it actually does, and hear me out. In this video, I am breaking down 10 big lessons I learned after using GeForce Now natively on my Steam Deck. Some are technical, some are more personal, but all of them point towards one truth. The way we access and own games is changing very fast. Lesson number 1 has to do with the fact that the Steam Deck just became a new generation console. Since I bought it, I always thought the Steam Deck is amazing. It's such a little beast of a machine, and especially for something handheld, it's incredible. I've actually made quite a few videos about it, and go watch this one up here, which is really a testament to why I think it's such a great machine. But honestly, if you're somebody like me that likes to play AAA games, some games really push the Steam Deck to the edge. You can get around it, you can lower the resolution, you can tweak the settings, you can improve the TDP on the Steam Deck itself, but there is always the feeling that you're actually trading off something because the graphic isn't quite there, frame rates aren't super fast, and the machine gets hot, the fans kick in, the battery really drains super fast, and I'm always thinking about the performance rather than thinking about playing. So then comes GeForce Now, and I booted it on the Steam Deck. I put on Cyberpunk 2077 using the native app and RTX on max settings, and boom, it runs buttery smooth. I didn't have to think or anything, no installation, no waiting. The craziest thing was I set the Steam Deck to a TDP of 5 and I played for a good 20 minutes and I think I went down 2% in battery. And then I really wanted to see if it was just a game or whatever, so I put on Flight Simulator using it on the Xbox app. I put the settings to max again, and there I was just flying around over my city, over my house, full graphics on a handheld, and that is pretty mind-blowing. And that was when it hit me. The Steam Deck isn't just a handheld PC anymore, because with the cloud doing all the heavy lifting, this turns into, let's say, about a $2,000 or euro gaming rig, and you didn't need to upgrade anything. It's just a deck, the subscription, and a decent internet connection, so you don't even need such a good internet connection for it to work. Second lesson learned, I'm wondering, is installing games dead? And if you play video games, you know the drill. You're going to buy something on sale, you're super excited to play it, and then you've got 30 gigabytes at best to download, then you've got a patch, another patch, then you've got shaders. By the time you're done with all of that, you're just either tired or you're distracted or you're just not in the mood anymore. And then you've got, adding to all of that, the fun of managing the storage on the deck. So you've got to delete stuff, you've got to juggle around with SSDs, move games around, it just becomes a kind of mini game itself. But with playing the games on the cloud with GeForce, I just click play and I'm in. So there's no waiting, no installing, no updates, just plays straight away. And honestly, that is hard to describe in the sense of how liberating it feels. You see a game in your library, even one that you don't own locally, and just within seconds you're on playing it. So there's no prepping, no planning, it's just an impulse kind of access because you're playing the game on a virtual machine. So it does remove that friction between wanting to play something and actually going on to play it. And that changes, I feel, our whole relationship with gaming. Lesson number 3 has to do with my backlog and the fact that it kind of feels irrelevant now. Over the years, I bought a fair amount of games, and whenever I had a console, I'd go out and buy titles I was excited about, play some and then leave others on the shelves, and I always bought physical copies. That was just how it worked for me, so I'd love to have the disc, the cases, maybe still a receipt inside them. But here's the thing, I always ended up maybe stupidly, maybe not, selling my old consoles, and when I did, the games went with them. So looking back, I don't really own any of those games anymore. I maybe have a couple of PlayStation 4 games left, but I don't have anything from the years before, stupidly. Then came the PS5, and that's when things really changed for me, because I started using the PlayStation Network, PlayStation Plus, and downloading games digitally. And with the Steam Deck, that became a default. Now with GeForce Now, it goes one step further, because I'm not even downloading anything anymore. I'm just streaming games I never bought, I never installed, and I'm never going to own. So it's kind of weird, but it's instant, it's convenient, but it also makes me realize it's not longer about what I own, it's about what I can access. And that shift, it kind of sneaks up on you a bit. Lesson 4, and that's that game ownership is disappearing. And while I haven't had the experience yet, it is very well possible that while playing on GeForce Now, from one day to the other, a game might get pulled from the platform and it just vanishes. So it just goes from the catalogue, because they can do that for whatever reason, for rights or anything to do with their business, and just like that, it's gone. And since I haven't downloaded it, I don't have a backup. So I have effectively nothing. So really, even with the downloads, that kind of is a little bit of a problem compared to the physical game ownership. Really, when you stream them, you don't have anything. They can disappear from one day to the other. Lesson number 5, streaming changes the way that I play games. In fact, when I buy a game outright, especially at full price, I usually commit to it to a very high degree. Even if the opening is slow and I'm not immediately hooked, I usually give it some time because I paid for it. And that kind of investment, it creates mentally an anchor for me. But with streaming, I've noticed something completely different. I bounce between games a lot. So I play for a few minutes, and I've had a couple of games where I wasn't grabbed by the intro and the first 10 minutes of gameplay, and I'm already thinking I'm going to leave this and just try something else, because there is no risk, because there's no pressure, and I've just got a huge library there, just a play button away. On one hand, it is really great, because it really makes it easier to experiment. I can try a new genre, so I can test games that I wouldn't normally spend money on, but on the other hand, it kind of changes the way that I engage with the games, because I'm a lot more impatient and I'm less likely to wait maybe through a slow beginning, and I'm more likely to just leave something the moment that it maybe asks me to slow down or to learn or to kind of care. So it has that TikTok feeling for gaming. So it's like swipe, skip, next. I don't really love that, because some of my favourite games started slow. Some of the most rewarding experiences, they didn't hook me in the first 10 minutes. They actually took hours. Streaming, so it does make it more easy to try more, but it also makes it a lot harder to stick with something. And I'm really kind of still figuring out whether I like that or not. Let's move on with lesson number 6, and that's to do with game discovery, because one of the coolest things about streaming games is that you discover new games, and in fact not having to download or wait or wonder if the system can actually play a game. I ended up playing a game like Oblivion 4 Remastered recently. I didn't plan that, but it just was there. It ran beautifully and I got curious. It was a little bit slow to start, but I'm really enjoying that. I'm loving to play it. Same thing goes for Lord of the Fallen, which kind of always interested me because it's got that whole Souls atmosphere, which I like a lot, but probably I would have never bought it outright, especially not at full price. But when it's there on Xbox Now and just stream it, why not? And it's actually nice to find out that it's a game I'm really appreciating. And this kind of access is really changing the whole relationship with gaming, I find, because it turns curiosity into action very fast, and we're more likely to explore new genres or maybe revisit old titles and to try out niche stuff than we would usually be, because we might skip something. So it just broadens the scope of what we can choose as gamers. And sometimes it is a miss, but I find that when it hits, it's like finding a hidden gem that you never would have had the chance to discover otherwise so easily. So that's quite cool. Lesson 7 has to do with the fact that this combo might actually end up replacing a console. Because if you think that you need a PS5 or an Xbox along with your deck, and I'm going to be very daring by saying even a PC, you actually don't anymore. Because if you get the ultimate tier of GeForce Now, you can stream in 4K with ray tracing straight to the deck, and you can just go and connect that with a dock to your TV. It's smooth, it looks really, really good, and it's actually portable. So you've got the best of both worlds. You can play handheld if you want, or you can just go and put it on a monitor and you can just play docked, but you've got that super smooth high quality that you get from streaming, having of course a decent internet connection, and I'll come to the point of the internet connection in a little bit. So if you're not deep into owning physical games or exclusives, this setup might actually be better and cheaper than owning a console. Lesson 8 has to do with the fact that the platform decides what it is showing us, and this kind of surprised me a little bit, because when I open the app, I'm shown a featured list. So there's a lot of big titles, recent releases, etc., and that's all fine, but it's filtered. So it's actually not my full library, whether it's the Steam library or one of the other libraries. I'm going to have to dig. So sometimes even I have to search manually to find a game that I already know is available. It just gives me the feeling that it is really the platform that decides what gets attention, and it's not really based necessarily on what I like, but maybe on what they want to push. I'm not 100% sure on this. It's a saddle, but it kind of seems to want to shape your choices like it happens everywhere these days with algorithms, etc. And it starts to feel less like we're browsing a library and more like we're being stirred through a storefront, if you know what I mean. Lesson number 9, tech is almost perfect, because for most games GeForce Now works surprisingly well, even if you have a slow connection. But I did try Hell Let Loose, and I noticed that there was a little bit of input lag, and you do notice sometimes, even with Lord of the Fallen that you've seen the footage of before, it's not unplayable, but it sometimes gives you the feeling that it's not flawless. And I had a feeling that it was worse Friday and Saturday night sometime. So I'm starting wondering, maybe they kind of cap the quality during peak hours. It kind of felt like that a little bit. Still, I played at a friend's place, 25 megabit connection, and away from the router, and it still worked. So it's impressive on its own. But if you want that ultra smooth, no compromise experience, you need a decent connection. Lesson number 10 has to do with the fact that gaming is really becoming platformless, because I was looking down at my Steam Deck and realized I'm playing a PC game, streaming it from the cloud, all on this device. I don't need my PlayStation, I don't need an Xbox, I don't need a high-end gaming PC. I just need this, and it works. I can do it docked, I can do it handheld, I can do it on the couch, in bed, wherever I want, as long as I have an internet connection. But that's when it really hit me, because we're moving towards a future where the device doesn't even matter anymore. You can actually play GeForce Now on a joypad. Because our games, they live in the cloud, and the saves, they sync across the systems, and we don't need the latest GPU or the next generation console. All we need is just a screen, a controller, and a decent internet connection. It's basically incredible, and if you would have told me 10 or 15 years ago, I wouldn't have really believed that it would be as good as it really is. But it's also a little bit unsettling. Because here's the part that really sticks with me the more I think about it. We already don't own our games. Not really, because we're going towards this fully digital new sphere where we download everything. And if a game actually gets pulled from Steam or any of the libraries, Game Pass, etc., it's gone. So we haven't got a disc, no backup, we have got effectively no control. And one day it could be a game that I love and one that I want to revisit, and maybe a game that means something to me, and there's nothing I can do about it. And that's not some distant theoretical problem, that's already happening. There's games that effectively are not there anymore. So streaming and the whole digital sphere of gaming is amazing, and I'm all in on tech, and it's made games more accessible for sure, more flexible, faster, more exciting than ever. But I also find myself asking, are we okay with giving up permanence for convenience? Are we fine handing over ownership and just hoping that access is always going to be there? Let me know what you think down in the comments, and thanks a lot for watching, because honestly I'm still figuring out this one myself. See you in the next one. Bye bye.